To gather intelligence for missions too sensitive or time critical for the CIA, it developed its own clandestine capabilities, operating under shifting code names such as Centra Spike, Torn Victor, and Gray Fox to keep its identity
And
concealed.
just so you guys know, to be a tier 1 operator is extremely fucking difficult. Okay, let me not gloss over like people think, "Oh, I want to be a Navy SEAL, I want to be an Army Ranger, I want to be a Green Beret, I want to bro, it's fucking brutal. Let me be explicitly clear about this. Becoming a tier 3, 2, or 1 operator is fucking prestigious as hell. This is why I have an enormous amount of respect for Joe Kent. Okay? When people sit there and say you're un-American, you're a traitor, I tell them shut the fuck up because you guys do not understand the selection process for this. We're talking blood, sweat, and fucking tears to become a tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 operator. These guys don't get enough fucking credit at all. They don't. They should be getting more praise than they do. Extremely difficult, grueling physical challenges. You're sleep deprived. You're hungry. They put you out in the fucking wilderness. You have to fucking do all kinds of tests, enduring pain with swimming exercises, putting you in a multitude of different climate situations. The training is fucking brutal. There's a reason why no woman has ever made it through SEAL team training. You guys think basic is hard? Bruh. Basic is a joke compared to what these guys do. So I want to make that very clear. If you're any top tier operator, whether 1, 2, or 3, Army Ranger, fucking SEALs, Delta, ISA, all this, super highly, because these guys deal with very classified shit, operations, sensitive operations. You're a fucking G if you do any of this stuff.
ISA's operators
Enormous amount of respect I have for guys like this.
work in the shadows long before assault forces arrive. Their mission is built on human intelligence and signals intelligence at a tactical level, giving Delta Force.
So informants and intercepting phones, basically. Human intelligence is a fancy way of saying waterboarding niggas. And signals intelligence is basically tapping phones. It sounds more fucking respectful, but that it sounds better that way. But that's what it is.
Force and DevGru the exact information they need to strike with precision. They intercept enemy communications, track targets through electronic signatures, and build real-time intelligence pictures. Most ISA personnel come from special forces backgrounds, bringing language skills, cultural awareness, and the ability to operate alone in denied areas. ISA operates in small, specialized squadrons that combine human collectors, SIGINT teams, cyber specialists, and mission support elements. Together, they shape the battlefield before any raid begins, making the unit one of the most critical and least visible components of American Special Operations. JTF-2.
Okay. Now, these are other countries, operators, and shit like that. So let's quickly recap here what we got going on, right? So obviously the official narrative, right, is that a colonel, right, well, an F-15 was shot down. A colonel was the weapons system officer. We don't know the rank of the pilot, but I'm going to assume it's probably maybe around the same level, maybe a little bit below, right? And this weapons system officer was found about 48 hours later. During the operation to find him, okay, we basically, we saw MC-130s, MD helicopters, aka Little Birds, and we saw, which are basically used for special forces, okay, and we know that the CIA was heavily involved in the recovery of this weapons system officer. So here's my theory. Over a period of time, the United States covertly flew in MC-130s, Little Birds, and other resources to create what's called a FARP, okay? A FARP, guys, is a forward arming and refueling point, okay? It's a NATO term for an area where aircraft, typically helicopters, can be refueled and rearmed at a distance closer to the area of operations and their main operating base. So, special forces, right, alongside other auxiliary units that were supporting them, set up this FARP to begin to stage a uranium showdown, essentially. The IAEA had given the United States information that there would be highly enriched uranium at one of the nuclear facilities. And I think in this case, they were not that far from Isfahan. Okay? There's 3 main nuclear sites in Iran: Fordo, Isfahan, and Natanz. So what basically happened was, because these MC-130s and these little birds can fly in, radars off, completely quiet. Okay? Just fly in, no radars, nothing, come in, don't get detected. And they had been doing this for a bit. And what ended up happening was this F-15, which I'm starting to think was attached to this team, right? Because the CIA ran the entire operation, guys. Notice how the CIA basically took over and was watching the weapons system officer. This is what I think. The CIA was planning a uranium assault on a nuclear facility and were staging assets and personnel in the area. Also, a woman's military ID was found at the site. This woman has an expertise with nuclear chemicals. Okay? Now, if they were to actually run an assault on a nuclear base or a nuclear facility and get the uranium out, well, it's lots of uranium. It's heavy, and it needs to be dealt with in a certain way. Hence the 2 MC-130s to fly supplies and people in while simultaneously setting up this, clandestine operation to raid this facility. As they were preparing to do this raid, this is why Trump kept saying, we're going to attack Cork Island, we're going to attack Cork Island, we're going to attack Cork Island. That was more than likely going to be used as a diversion, right? From the special operators going into the facility and getting the uranium. So because they had some intel that uranium will be located at this location. So what ended up happening was, I'm willing to bet that F-15 was attached to that CIA operation. That's why a weapons system officer was a fucking colonel.
Bomba.
Because in my head, I'm like, why the fuck would a colonel be a weapons system officer? This is way below him. But now it makes sense. He was probably attached to that CIA unit that was running that operation. And obviously, he's a higher rank, which means he's going to be cleared to get more, to have work at a higher clearance level for a more sensitive operation. So more than likely what happened was this. He volunteered to be involved in this operation, and that F-15 was attached to that clandestine unit or that clandestine group that was supposed to set up to take over to assault a nuclear facility and regain the uranium and take the uranium. But the problem that they did not foresee happening was the F-15 got shot down. So they had to abandon the mission to conduct the assault for the uranium. That explains why all these unorthodox aircraft were there that have nothing to do with rescue missions. Rather, they're there for assaults and bringing personnel in. Because if you're trying to do an extraction mission, I've listened to many military commentators talk about this, by the way, guys. What I've done is I've basically taken a bunch of different commentators and I'm combining all their fucking analysis into one thing for you guys to understand simply. Okay, I'm taking people like Colonel McGregor, Aguilar, a bunch of different people that kind of, Larry Johnson. I've looked at a bunch of people's take on this. And I was like, you know what? Okay, this makes sense, that makes sense, that makes sense. And then I did my own research and I'm giving you guys the fucking filtered version of this. That's simple to understand. The aircraft that were utilized to rescue this guy are aircraft that are not indicative of a rescue mission. Typically, you want to use certain aircraft that get you in and out quickly, the smallest package possible, so that you don't put other operators at risk. But in this case, we had all these fucking big-ass planes that don't really have any business being involved in operators at risk. But in this case, we had all these fucking big-ass planes that don't really have any business being involved in a rescue mission. And then when they found that, we know why these MC-130s were there, which are the higher classified version of the C-130. Now we know why these little birds were there. They were planning to do an assault on more than likely Isfahan. And the F-15 was attached to that unit. It's just that he got shot down and it derailed their fucking plans. That explains why a fucking colonel was the weapons system officer. Because with an operation like this, you want to put your best and brightest in place. And they almost got away with it, chat, if you think about it. Because everyone was focusing on Cork Island. Everyone was focusing on where's the land invasion going to come? Are they going to come from Pakistan? Are they going to come from the west? Are they going to come via Karg Island? We know the Marines were doing operations in Diego Garcia. They were doing amphibious training operations of doing a ground assault. That hit the news. I think all of this was done to divert attention from a block operation that was taking place in Iran to get the uranium. And I think that's another reason why Trump decided, you know what? We're going to do a 2-week ceasefire. Because what I'm willing to bet is that black op that got taken down, unfortunately, because of this F-15 getting shot down, where they had to, show their hand, that probably derailed Trump's entire strategy. That's why he was behaving so ambiguous. That's why he couldn't give an answer. That's why he kept harping on, we're going to take Karg Island. It was all diversion. Meanwhile, the CIA was running a completely different operation in country. Because more than likely, the CIA had information where the uranium was, where it was stored, how to get there, and they brought a bunch of special operators to make that shit happen. Oh, let me get this guy out of my fucking chat, bro. Fuck out of here, bro. Nigga said you're yapping and you're in my chat. Get the fuck out of here.
Time to send you to the Shadow Realm. The future is mine.
Dude's name is Bruce Drop Him Off. Well, now you're Bruce fucking Shadow Realm, bitch. So that's what I think happened. They put together a package or a team to assault the nuclear facility, nuclear professionals to take said materials, MC-130s to load said materials and bring personnel there, Little Burst to assist with the air support of the raid, and an F-15 or maybe other assets also were attached. That explains why a weapons system officer was a fucking colonel. Because that was a big red flag to me. And then when the CIA took the majority of the credit for getting him back, that's when I realized, oh, these guys weren't even fucking, these guys were probably were completely detached from your standard military operation. These guys were operating on their own. They were doing a fucking black operation. And it made sense. That's why the CIA was the lead agency in getting him back. And that also explains why they were so desperate to get him back. They sit there and tell you, yo, leave no man behind. The reality is, don't leave someone who's a weapons system officer of a black operation behind. Could you imagine if they caught him, chat? Now that we know what he probably knew? Could you imagine? This guy's a colonel. They probably brought him in because he was rated at a high classification level. Probably only the president and a few other people even knew about this operation. That is why they had to fucking get him. If he was captured, it would have been a colossal failure and a huge risk to the entire operation. The entire Operation Epic Fury. And it got blown. It was unlucky. That's also why, by the way, if you guys remember, they blew up the MC-130s. You want to know why? Because those planes are more classified than your regular AC-130s. There was probably classified documents and or technology on there that they had to destroy. So let's summarize this. And then we're going to bring my brother on and jump on some Twitter Spaces. The United States was operating a highly classified clandestine operation to retrieve uranium from one of the nuclear facilities. I'm going to assume Esfahan because I know it wasn't that far from where this rescue operation went. To set up for the operation, the CIA was running this thing, running point on it, and brought in special operators, nuclear professionals, and several aircraft to help with getting resources in, creating a FARP, and preparing and staging for an assault. Meanwhile, publicly, Donald Trump was posturing that MEUs would be invading Karg Island as a diversion. And more than likely, the MEU would invade and attack when the black operation was ready to go ahead and try to retrieve the uranium, because they had information from sources in the IAEA when they were in country where the uranium might be held. CIA was running the operation with help from Delta Force, SEAL Team 6, and all the other Tier 1 operators and nuclear specialists. The F-15, I believe, was probably more than likely a part of the CIA operation, hence why a high-ranking colonel would be the weapons system officer. They did not foresee that they would get shot down. They got shot down, and they had to pivot and abandon everything that they were doing. This is why you saw all these unorthodox aircraft in the area. And after they were able to extract them, they blew up the MC-130s because there was probably sophisticated and or classified technology on there, and the aircraft itself is classified because it's a more advanced version of the AC-130. This put Trump in a difficult situation, which more than likely is leading to why he's doing this 2-week ceasefire. Because the very operation, which was supposed to give him the W, was derailed from this unfortunate incident of an F-15 getting shot down. And they got caught with their pants down and had to prioritize finding this weapons system officer over actually going into the nuclear facility and getting the uranium, because this weapons system officer knew the entire operation, and him being caught could not be risked. So they would rather destroy while they were there with the MC-130s and retrieve him and blow the operation than let him be caught. Now it makes so much sense why they dropped everything to find this guy. Now it makes perfect sense. That would have been the worst intelligence leak of American history if they were able to capture that guy. Who was more than likely read in on the CIA op and was helping, which explains his high rank as a wizzo. Give me ones if this makes sense. I hope that makes sense, guys. But that's what I think. That's my speculation, bro. And a lot of military analysts agree with me. I basically took parts of all of their different analysis and added my own spin on it. But yeah. We got off? Okay, he's got to be up early tomorrow.